another episode of the fourth World QuickTake. I'm here with my co-host, Nicholas Todd. Hey, everybody. How you doing today?
Great, bro.
Okay, so today's topic comes from Canada. And the Seneca tribe had a huge victory in the Canadian Supreme Court in which they got recognition as a tribe, which a couple of decades ago, they were told that they didn't exist anymore. And with that comes from hunting rights to land. And what are your thoughts about this?
Woohoo! Let's celebrate. As you know, that like a lot of it happens back in the past where like it's just kind of crazy that in today's day and age, people still don't know that we exist.
Yeah.
Now, I do understand that the Canadian government does know natives exist, but I highly doubt that they actually did their research and actually looked in to see if there's any of this tribe left. They would probably just Google search like, are there any of these tribe members left? It would come up known. They're like, okay, let's presume them extinct. And just like put them in that category and just took their land. So it sucks.
You know, I think in our last pod or like our earlier pods, we talked about the whole indigenous thing where it's hard to characterize us because Native American doesn't really do us our name right. Because, you know, you could be a Native American in like South America or you could be like in Puerto Rico, I think.
Yeah.
Like those islands and they could be considered Native American. Like it doesn't specifically mean like us, American Indian, Native American, like there's so many names for us. It's hard to define what we are. And you know, with I know with Canada and the U.S., there's always been tensions against its Native American people because they took our land, they took our resources, and they profited off us without us getting any of the resources.
Yeah.
And now we're trying to like fight for it, and we're being like it's like tooth and nail for us to try to claw back.
And I think it's always sucks, bro. Like we always talked about this when we were younger, when we went fishing. Like, why do we gotta pay to like
fish on our land?
Fish on our land. Why do we gotta pay to hunt on our own land? You know, it's like going into a stranger's house and being like, "Hey, you want to eat that food? You gotta pay a permit if you want to eat this food or cook this food here." And it's like, what the hell, man?
I live here.
I live here. It's my house. Like, nope, it ain't free, man. And I'm really happy that these guys were able to get their hunting and their lands back because I would imagine up in Canada area they would get like a lot of animals and all that stuff.
Yeah,
there.
there's a lot more hunting and fishing areas up there. You know, us being like the Navajo tribe and being in a desert, we have some lakes, but it's really in specific areas where like our mountains. But outside of that, most of it's desert. And that's still useful because like they gave us this land and they didn't know it had uranium, they didn't know that they had coal, and that was really big for our people. But it just seems like we just stripped all that up.
Yeah, and it's just like all we have here are rabbits, elk, some elk, deer, a little bit of deer. And that's about it.
I was going to say, what else was going to say? Coyotes?
I was going to say, like, coyotes, lizards, bugs, cactus,
flies.
all the little stuff. And you see up there, they get, like, these big-ass, like, trout and salmon, bears. They got elk, deer, everything out there, man. So, you know, I'm happy for them because I do know that, like, in Canada, there are a lot of tensions between the crown and pretty much the territories that there have been like a lot of pipeline fights that happen up there just like how they happen here in the US, you
DAPL know? And everything went through Canada to the US
pretty much, and there's a lot more. I think Canada is like a huge oil continent where they have pipelines going everywhere up there, just like how Alaska has like a lot of oil up there as well. So pretty much Canada has like the same thing too.
Yeah, it's a super great victory for us because, you know, like I said, like they took all this from us and we're trying to get it back and we just had to fight too and now. So any small victory is a big victory for us. And, you know, it's hard to voice our opinions because, like you said, everybody thinks we're gone. Everybody thinks we're non-existent. Everybody thinks we're uneducated. Everybody thinks we're not smart.
Yeah.
And that's the reason why, like, we do this podcast or we do our channels to prove that we are still here and we are capable of building something that's bigger than ourselves and sharing our voice and showing like our opinions on things. Cause most things like people speak for us. Like we talk about the mascots. They want to speak for us. They want to tell us how we should feel. And it's like, no, I feel a certain way about it.
They're like, no, you don't know how you feel because you're you're native and or
Yeah.
you're brown and you don't know how you feel. It's just like, what? It's like, dude, I got feelings. I know how I feel.
It's like
And
we're honoring your people. You should be happy you're being a mascot. But yeah, you like you wear the headdress that's like, and then you do these little plays
this
and
is,
like disrespecting our culture. And it's like that's not
yeah,
okay.
this like there are other ways to go about it, man.
Yeah.
And that's just sucks. Is like, I one thing I have a question about is, yeah, the Canadian Supreme Court ruled that they got their land back, but this tribe, it says in the article that their land spans in Canada and the United States. So now I'm pretty sure on the Canadian side they got their land back, but I
Yeah.
think they would have to go through the U.S. Supreme Court to be able to get their land back on the U.S. side. But still, like how you said, it's a small victory, even though it's something, but not it's not nothing.
Yeah, one of the big Native American problems for us is that there's a lot of Native American tribes that don't get recognized just because they don't have the court documents to prove they were a tribe. I think there's a lot of requirements, like you have to have a government, you have to have like a leader, you have to like have enrolled members,
Hmm.
and it's just the past 100 years. So a lot of the history gets when a lot of your people are killed and like uh killed off but massacred and all those records get lost, it's hard to prove that you are a Native American tribe.
Exactly, and that's what this guy, the Rick man,
Yeah.
he he pretty much had to speak for his people. Like, no, we're descendants of these guys, and we're not dead.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy, dude.
then
Could you imagine that happened to the Navajo? Like, you're Native American, but you can't. It's not federal. Like,
yeah,
I know a few. I follow a few people on Instagram that are in this situation, but I think it's more the Mexico because we're near the border.